Okay. Welcome to another Full Access Friday. Appreciate y'all being with me. We got a lot to discuss. First thing I want to talk about is today I had an opportunity to sit down with the great Dinesh D'Souza. He is a really awesome dude. He's a great patriot. We had about a 15 to 20-minute conversation, and I'll drop that on Sunday. But if you haven't seen the movie, which I did last week, which is called Vindicating Trump, it's an amazing movie. It's a really, really good movie. It lays out the entire how they went after Trump from the beginning to the end, and it honestly it vindicates President Trump. And if you can see this movie, I would bring somebody that you know doesn't agree
Heard
with
Walter.
President Trump, or if you know someone that is, in the middle or something, because it will change their mind because you'll be able to see exactly what they did and how they did it, and it's a really good, well done movie. So yeah, Dinesh was a great interview. It was a lot of fun. It was a good interview, and like I said, I'll drop that one on Sunday for everybody.
That's good.
Now, before we get into the hurricane and all this other stuff, there's a couple of websites that I want to tell you about. First and foremost, and I've done a study on this, I've done an expose on this. If you've been with me a long time, you probably remember it. The Red Cross is a fraudulent organization, okay?
Yeah,
100%
I heard that
fraudulent
before.
organization. Um, Less than 50% of what you donate goes to the cause. So they take the money, the CEOs, the higher ups, and things like that. They pay for lavish things and all that, and they don't really give the money to the sources that they're needed to. However, there is an organization out there that you should definitely donate to if you can and you can afford it, and it's SamaritansPurse.org. So SamaritansPurse, SamaritansPurse.org. This is a religious Christian organization. About 90 to 95% of everything that you donate will go to the people. Okay? It's not going to go to the fat cats at the top or anything like that. And so I think it's important to differentiate that because even President Trump, doesn't understand. He's using GoFundMe, which, by the way, is run by the left and censors people all the time. And of course, he's telling people to go to the Red Cross. The Red Cross is the last place that you should send any money to ever. So if they come after me on that, that's fine. I don't care. But SamaritansPurse.org is definitely the place to go. The other thing is this early vote action. Obviously, there's Turning Point Action, and you can go there and you can donate to them and things like that. But early vote action is run by this activist, Scott Pressler. You probably know who he is. He's got really, really long hair. He's a young kid, about 25, maybe 27 years old. This kid is responsible for registering hundreds upon thousands of voters ready, to vote for President Trump. He's going to be there in Butler tomorrow with however many people are going to be out there. He's going to be registering people out there. So I've given money to this organization. You can go to earlyvoteaction.com, earlyvoteaction.com, and there's two options of where you can donate. One of them says Win Red, and one of them says ANEDOT. So I looked into that one a little bit more. It's a little more grassroots. The Win Red is the RNC and all that. So I would send it to the ANEDOT, which is what I did when I donated. So I wanted to kind of run that by you all as well. Now, as far as this horrific hurricane, this is, Kamala's Katrina. And quite frankly, I think this is probably worse than Katrina. And it's just amazing the lack of empathy, the lack of response. And you can only look at it from one way. They want these people dead because they know they're going to vote for Trump. I'll say it. I got no problem saying it. They don't care. And that's why people are rescuing people, ordinary citizens with trucks and vans and SUVs and even helicopters and airplanes, whatever they can do. And now FEMA is trying to stop them, okay, which is insane. And remember, they've already come out and said, we don't have any more money because we spent it all, billions of dollars bringing in these illegal aliens, because we don't give a shit about you, America. That's basically what it's all about. And so there's a lot of anger. There's a ton of anger. If you've been on X anytime recently, my goodness, just put in hurricane videos and just go through them, man. Wow. People are angry. Democrats, I used to support, I would never vote for her in a million years. So many people, and it's not just the people in the area, it's the people all around the country, which is why I keep pressing as hard as I possibly can to people that know Trump to get out in front of this and run a telethon, especially now. My goodness. Not only will you help these people, you'll help them get their lives back together. The money will go there. He ought to reach out to this Samaritan Purse, and he ought to work out an agreement with them, contract with them, whatever, and have it sponsored by them instead of the Red Cross, just to cut them out of the equation, and do a telethon on television. And like I said before, have President Trump himself answering the phones, have J.D. Vance, have RFK Jr., Tulsi, Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, all of these different people mic'd up. Because if you remember back in 9/11, after 9/11 happened, that's exactly what they did. They had all these celebrities answering the phones, taking donations. The optics of that would absolutely win the election for President Trump. And it still might, because the people are really, really upset. So any polling that you see that happened in the last 3-4 days, just ignore it. But remember this, whatever the poll says, add 5 points to Trump automatically. 2016, he outperformed the polls by 5 percentage points. 2020, he outperformed the polls by about 6 percentage points. And I believe this year he's probably going to outpoll the polls by anywhere between 8 and 10%. Okay. Now, I thought before the hurricane happened, he was going to win North Carolina by 3 to maybe 5 percentage points, somewhere around there. If they can figure out how to get the voting back up in time, which I hope they can, I think he's going to win by 25, 30 points easily in North Carolina after how devastated these people have been. So again, I believe, I'm very cautiously optimistic here, but I believe that the trajectory of the race has changed dramatically in favor of President Trump. So that's my thoughts on that. I want to kind of hear what you all are thinking as well. So I think, Glenn, you were probably number one here tonight. So what are your thoughts here? Do you think that this two-headed monster, J.D. Vance wiping out Tiananmen Square Tim, as well as the non-response and anger from the hurricane, what are your thoughts here? Do you think that this has changed the race?
Oh yeah, I think it's going to help out a lot, because just seeing a couple of the videos that you had, of course I watch a day late, but just the people's anger there, and the non-response that they're getting from many of them, and like you said, they're
Some kind of noise is going on.
Somebody doing something?
Somebody needs to be muted. I'm hearing like wind or something.
Not me.
Is everybody muted?
Liam.
Liam, you muted? Everybody muted here? That was really strange. Okay.
Yes,
Go
I
ahead,
was
Glenn.
thinking
I'm
the
sorry.
same
I don't know what that was.
But yeah, I mean, if they can keep the power off, and for what, another 4 weeks,
Oh God.
and I'm sure that they would do that to them people so they can't vote.
Right. Well, I can tell you from activists that I've talked to already in North Carolina that they are aware of that plan, and they are working right now with election people in other counties that were not hit to do paper ballots so that they can get extra ballots so that they can vote. So I'm hearing that from activists in North Carolina on our side, of course, that are like, hell
Good.
no, you're not going to keep us from voting. We are going to, go through mud, whatever we have to do to vote in this election. So again, look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't like to get conspiratorial, but if you look at the path of this hurricane, you can clearly see it hit western conservative North Carolina, not the eastern side. It hit western Florida, Jacksonville, all that
Odd.
area, Panhandle, not the liberal side, right? The conservative side. It hit Tennessee. So again, could this have been a weather manipulation? Which I know sounds insane, but it's not. Look up the company, makesunsets.com. I covered it 2.5 years ago. I was shocked to find a company that actually injects sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere to change the weather patterns because they're climate change Nazis that think that somehow doing that, is going to change the temperature of the earth, which is insane. And it's dangerous and they should be arrested for it.
A
But they
friend of mine,
can do those things.
a friend of mine just sent me a video yesterday, and I believe it was out of South Africa, with some kind of blue jelly ball that they put up in the air.
I don't know. I haven't seen that one, but I know that the organization exists. So, Gail, let's go to you here next. So again, obviously the debate was a big help, I believe, for President Trump. I think that would have probably put him up 2 to 3 extra points just with that alone. But with the non-response on the hurricane, I think that the race has changed. What are your thoughts? I know you've been a little more pessimistic.
Oh, I think it has. I mean, as far as voting, the thing is, are they so sure of themselves that they can actually do this suicidal thing they're doing to people that they think they're going to win anyway? And Biden did not kind of hinted at violence or something when they had that so-called press conference with him today.
Right.
And
Yeah, I did see that.
that's what's bothering me, that they're going to be, by hook or by crook, you know what I mean? To do that.
Well, look, if they orchestrated this hurricane in some respects,
I think they
it's
did.
backfired on them. Okay. And I
Yeah.
don't know if they did or not. I'm not saying they did. I'm saying it is possible because there is companies
Weird.
out there that exist that do those types of things. So it's not conspiratorial anymore. It's a possibility. But here's the other part of this. People around the country, it's not just the affected areas. People in New York and New Jersey and California and all over Arizona, everywhere around the country are seeing what's unfolding. They want these people to get help, and they now know that they're not getting help. And even the $750, you have to apply for it, and most people were denied from it. Could you imagine that? And first of all, how the hell are they going to apply online when they don't even have electricity? I mean,
know.
there's the optics of this that is being portrayed to the entire country of not just evilness, but incompetence, I truly believe has changed the trajectory of the race. And look, when I make these assumptions and predictions, I'm typically right. Okay. I mean, I'm not bragging. It's just the reality is that when I say something, it usually happens. So I'm cautiously optimistic. What we don't know, and the only variable that I really don't know, is whether or not there's enough fraudulent votes out there that somehow could, steal it from him. I said in 2020, the only way mathematically possible that Trump could lose is if they stole it from him. And of course, unfortunately, I was correct. I believe there's a lot more, and we talk about that, Dinesh and I, we talk about the safeguards that have been put in place since 2020 and even from 2022 to 2024. I went through them last night on the last show that I did. I went through the RNC and all the different things that they've done. So again, I'm cautiously optimistic, but here's the other thing. Wouldn't it be interesting if all of a sudden certain states they think are safe now because of this non-response and anger out there, and all of a sudden he's up 5, 6, 7 points in Virginia and they're counting on that state, or all of a sudden he's up 3 in New Jersey, or now all of a sudden he's within striking distance of 8 or 9% in New York. So what I'm saying is I believe that this event in particular has changed the race considerably, actually. Carl, what about you? What are your thoughts here on this? You had the JD Vance debate, who did very, very well, and then now followed up with this response on the hurricane?
You're muted.
You're muted, buddy. One of these days you'll get it right. You got it?
Read
Oh, I
lips.
saw that. Hey,
I
I'm
can read
supposed to be the
lips.
one that does that to liberals, not you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, I could not stand to listen to that Walls talk, so I didn't listen to it.
I did listen to it.
Yeah, she put up with that Walls tampon Tim.
Yeah, you mean Tim Conway from the Carol Burnett show?
Oh, he
No,
was,
tampon.
Whoever that character was.
Oh my God. He reminds me of Tim Conway. I know I'm dating myself here from the Carol Burnett show. You remember that guy? He
Right.
looks just like him. He sounds like him. You remember that one skit that they would do where they would put him on the thing and they'd make him look like a midget and they'd like hit him and he'd like knock down and like come back up.
Brother.
That's all I see when I see that psychopath.
Oh, look at it.
Oh my God.
Open up.
Unreal. All right. So Carol, what about you? What are your thoughts here? Do you think that the race has changed?
I do think the race has changed. I think that a lot of people are secretly going to vote for Trump. I do, because I mean, they're two idiots. So I think there's going to be people secretly going to vote for Trump. I'm hoping and thinking Trump's going to win, and then tables are going to kind of turn. Then all the left is going to try to say, "Oh, there was election interference. Oh, all this stuff." They're going to try to say all that was true when this whole time they were saying that everybody was making all that up. So I think the tables are going to really, really be turned. But I want to say something about the American Red Cross.
Yeah.
I think it's weird because, I don't know if you covered this. I don't think you did. But, when they were doing the hostage negotiations in Israel, when they would get the people from Hamas, you would go from Hamas to the American Red Cross and the American Red Cross to the IDF soldiers. So like they were the go-between. I think that they're basically on the side of Hamas. I know they were the go-between and got them safely to IDF, but I'm telling you, I think the Red Cross is way deeper than we ever can think, is what I think. That's my
There's no question about it. I covered them, gosh, I don't know. When the hell was the one Harvey? What year was that? 17, 16, 18? It was a long time ago. Remember Harvey? During Harvey, I decided to break it down because I already knew about the Red Cross, but I really went in depth and I went in deep. And maybe I'm not, obviously I'm going to put Dinesh up on the homepage, so I'm not going to put that there, but if you want it, I'll find it and I can, get a copy of it, because that's a good video, because it's about 15 minutes of just blowing it up. I mean, just going through their CEOs, where they came from, who they are, how much money went to this, how much money went to that, all their nefarious behavior. They are a terrible, terrible, terrible organization, truly. So this Samaritan Purse is the one you want to go to. This is Franklin Graham's, not that it's his, but he helps out with it. So it's a good organization and the money's going to go to the right spot. Bob, what are your thoughts here on this one? You think the race has changed?
Yeah, I think the race has changed. I tell you what, about the debate, I hated the commentators. I wish I could have muted them. But about the hurricane, it's more personal to me because I have my oldest daughter that lives back in North Carolina, and I haven't been able to reach her for 2 days.
Oh,
So
geez.
I don't know if I'm not getting through or what. So that concerns me. So seeing what they did, their non-compliance of them not doing anything, the race is over for them. That's what I feel. I feel they care so little that the race is over.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. When they, and I don't want to sound morbid, but this is really no longer a rescue mission, unfortunately. I think it's more of a recovery mission, and I hope to God I'm wrong on that. But if they start pulling out hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of bodies,
they have
I
already.
can't see how they could possibly win. I just, unless there's 20 million illegal alien votes that we don't know about or something crazy like that. But I just feel as though there's too many eyeballs this time. That's a discussion that we had with Dinesh, and he feels pretty confident too. But again, I'm not going to get overconfident. I say I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't know. There's variables that I don't know for sure because we don't have 100% secure elections. If we did, then yes, I would make predictions and I'd be like, put it in the bank, that's it, and so forth and so on. But I can't do that because I don't know 100%. Pam, what are your thoughts here? Do you think the race has changed?
Well, we know that they're going to try to steal it. And we know that that's not going to change, right? So, and a lot of people still hate Trump. There's a lot of happy people because Tina Peters was thrown in jail. But as far as the hurricane, anytime you're in a strong, weather pattern, you have to prepare. And evidently, they weren't expecting these floods, but they knew something was coming, and they have to take a little responsibility, the residents, that this, something could happen. Now, I heard a couple dams failed. So, I mean, if a dam fails, then that is catastrophic.
Yeah.
But anyway, so is it going to change the election? Maybe some people's votes, but I think they're still going to try to cheat their way into it. And they could still win. Kamala could still win.
Okay. All right. Jason, what are your thoughts here? Do you think the race has changed? Do you feel like Trump's in a much stronger position now?
Yes, I do. I do. I think I think people see a pattern from when you saw what happened in Ohio with the train.
And Maui.
They didn't care, or Maui, they just don't care. They just don't care. They're collateral damage, and they don't care. And here the people are saying, wow, I've given my tax money my whole life, and here I can't get help, but it's going to bring illegals into this country, or to send money to Ukraine instead of helping us. So yes, I do, and I think the debate definitely, I think, may have changed a lot of women's minds about Vance.
Yeah, I think
as well.
one of the benefits of the debate and JD Vance was, the media has characterized JD Vance as some kind of weird, wacky, dolt, fire breathing dragon that wants to eat your babies, for lunch. You know what I mean? And so what happened is when he got up on that stage and he was calm, cool, collected, he was smart. He was basically like a policy wonk. He knew what he was talking about, things like that. He knew how to look right at the camera. He was presentable. And I think what happened is it busted that narrative on him, certainly, number one. But number two, if God forbid anything happened to President Trump, either by his age being close to 80 or God forbid something else we don't even want to discuss, I think the people that are on the fence or were on the fence at that point can look at him and go, okay, if something happens and this guy takes over, I actually feel comfortable now knowing that he's intelligent and articulate and knows what he's doing and things like that. So I think it helped in that respect, but I wouldn't have said that the race completely had a trajectory and change after the VP debate. I would have said that it favored Trump by a couple of points, but with what happened with the hurricane, that is a different story. And remember, David Axelrod, who was a longtime surrogate operative, whatever you want to call it, of Barack Obama's 2 terms, he said the truth out loud just earlier today or yesterday. And he said the reason they're not being helped is because they're Trump voters. He actually said that on MSNBC, and he's getting a lot of pushback from it. But it's the truth.
Well, after the debate, I was watching with some people, and we said, just for some shits and giggles, let's just turn on CNN and let's just hear that. Let's see what they're saying. And, you had Van Jones, you had Axelrod, and a few others on there. And, they basically said that Vance won the debate, and also that he was slick, and that you see 3 different versions of Vance. So I knew that was coming.
3 different versions.
3 different versions of Vance.
Well, here's the thing. I saw another thing that kind of shocked me. It was a little weird, but they said that there was a they said they didn't know the reason, but there was a 55% drop in support for Harris from gay men towards Trump. I don't know if you heard that.
They like him.
No, we didn't.
And I guess they were talking about his blue eyes. So if you go, it's kind of funny if you go to like X and you put in Vance baby blues, you'll see all these like, you know, these videos of all these men and women talking about his eyes and all this other stuff. Look, you know, Trump always says this person's from Central Casting, right? That person, you know, is good looking, this and all. Maybe it matters because do you want to look at Tim Conway or would you rather look at, you know, someone, you know, like JD Vance? So
Yeah.
again, you know, a lot of that, look at Gavin Newsom, right? He's an absolute tyrant. I've called him Ted Bundy of politicians. He's probably even worse.
Looks
But,
creepy,
you know,
though.
a lot of people think he's a nice looking person and therefore he wins. He's been in,
He's a creepy
you know,
nose.
in power for a long time. So
Now
I don't
that's a
know.
slick guy. Now that's a guy
That's a
who's
slick
slick.
guy. Yeah, but he got his ass handed to him on his AI meme bullshit that he tried to pull. The judge said, I don't think so on that one. Liam, what are your thoughts here? Do you think that the race has changed?
Well, thank you, Josh. First of all, can you hear any background noise now that I'm unmuted?
No, I'm good.
Good. I've got a complicated setup. Anyway, do I think the race has changed? I'm going to say only a tilt favor for Trump. I mean, unless I misheard, I don't think anyone's mentioned, but to me, this is a reminder of Hawaii, the wildfires, and how the government was completely intentionally not responding in the way that we needed them to. Now, I haven't had the time to research into the whole North Carolina thing. I mean, of course, thoughts and prayers go out to those who are in a tragic situation. I think the little things we complain at every day, but those people have got some awful challenges, so just keep them in their prayers. But yeah, I'll read the headlines, and it's like the government gets mad when fellow Americans go out and rescue them. So that's obviously going to make follow them on. And likely, I mean, you see Trump, he's just going out there and doing his thing, and I wish Gateway Pundit wouldn't like make a big deal out of it. He's just doing the things out of the kindness of his heart, but I guess you have to publish it so he gets the votes. But I think Trump's doing it because he cares.
Yeah.
So that's going to bring some positive attention, and of course, we just have to smash through these fraudulent algorithms, whether it's on the machines or the duplicate voters. I went to register to vote in Texas today. It's all nice and complicated, like you want. But
it was complicated.
Well, because I phoned the registrar in my county, and they said you have to go to this office, which is 53 minutes away from where I'm at. And then I found another number, and they said, "Oh, go to any of the tax offices." So I went to one 30 minutes away, waited in a long line, and they accepted my application. And the deadline is on Monday, so we want it complicated like that. The other states,
they tried to pull the this thing for, you know, Trump's going back to Butler. I'm going to get to you in 1 second, Gail. Trump's going back to Butler tomorrow, and they were going to schedule a maintenance on the Secretary of State's website between 6 p.m. He goes on stage at 5, between 6 p.m. and 12 midnight. So Scott Pressler, you know, got wind of it from some other whistleblowers or activists out there. It went directly to Laura Trump. She immediately got the lawyers on it and stopped it. So now they're saying that they're going to do the update or whatever they were going to do, I think around 11 o'clock at night instead of 6 p.m., which would have disenfranchised hundreds of thousands of people trying to register. Sorry, we're down for maintenance right now. That's the little things that these sick bastards will do. Anything they can think of, they probably sit in a room and think of different things that they can do on the second, you know, to try to steal things or, you know, block things or whatever. It's unbelievable. Gail, what did you have on your mind? I apologize.
2 things real quick. Pam, in Katrina, people had warnings, but they didn't always heed them. There was partly their fault. But here, these people did not have the warnings. They were not given the warnings in time, and they didn't know what was coming. So that's one thing. And then Liam, Asheville, I think Josh went over this. They're sitting on lithium there in that area. And I'm sure they want the land for that. And they wanted land in Maui too, the realtors and stuff. And the Chinese wanted it. So there's hanky panky going on.
Yeah, and I saw your comment from yesterday on that, and look, that could be part of it too. I just wonder if they somehow manipulated this storm to hit the western sides of the states on purpose and not the eastern sides where the liberals are. Like, you got to start thinking like that. I mean, they're desperate, they're on the ropes, they don't have a pandemic to fall behind this time. I saw a thing that said that mail-in vote and absentee vote requests for ballots are at historical lows, which is wonderful. That means that you're not seeing what you saw in 2020. Certainly by this time, there was already, I remember by this time, there was all kinds of laws being changed. There was all kinds of drop boxes and all kinds of things going on. So I think things are a little bit different. I do agree with you, though. They are going to continue to try to cheat. So it looks like Scott says he has his Merlot. Is that what you said, Scott? I saw that real quick. Now, here's why I say that the vote and the race has changed. Not that I believe every single poll in the world or anything like that, but Rasmussen, Trafalgar, and one other one, Atlas something or other, those three in particular are usually pretty accurate. Now, Rasmussen does a daily poll where it goes through, each day and what the numbers are. Sorry, Shannon, can't talk to you now. And so I'm looking at this, and believe it or not, it shows that on October 1st, you had Trump at 49, her at 46. On October 2nd, you had Trump at 50, her at 46, and now October 3rd, you have Trump at 52 and her at 45. So, and again, he polls people daily, all the time. So you're going to get a constant update. So that's post-debate, obviously, but it's probably not all of the Hurricane Helene fiasco. And that's why if he's already at +7 just from the debate, or maybe a little bit of the hurricane, and now the response that's come out, yeah, clearly I can see that this race has changed. Walter, I didn't get a chance to ask you. Sorry about that. I believe the race has changed. I do, dramatically, actually. Not just from the J.D. Vance, obliteration of Tiananmen Square Tim, but also the non-response from the federal government on the hurricane. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with you. I think that after the debate, that the Democrats' internal polling pretty much told them, if you can't win it by cheating, you're not going to win. So I think that they have diverted even more funds and even more effort to underhanded tactics to try to win, and more distraction. And they're not even going to, I don't even think they're going to make any serious effort to talk about policy or to try to even put up the facade of having certain policy positions. I think they've given up on actually winning the election legitimately. Now they're throwing everything into cheating, including, unfortunately, like you said, diverting hurricanes, because there is evidence out there that hurricanes can be steered and guided.
And that's the scary part. I do believe, though, the hurricane is going to more than likely, in the end, backfire against them. I don't know when you joined, but I've been speaking to some activists in North Carolina that are in the parts that weren't hit. And once everything kind of gets cleared up and they get electricity and things like that, they have already said that they're going to work with other precincts that were not damaged and hit, and they're going to order extra ballots and things like that. And they're going to try to get as many of those people to vote, but in emergency precincts. So in other words, they're going to have to sue. The Trump campaign is already going to have to get ready to sue to get that moved. But this is an act of God, and so therefore it will qualify, meaning that the Trump campaign will win that lawsuit, guaranteed, because here's the reason, because it was an act of God, and an act of God can't keep you from voting. That's the way the law works. So he
Mhm.
will win the lawsuit, and they'll be able to vote in other precincts, which is again why I keep saying I think that, you know, this is going to backfire on them, especially the fact that they offered $750 to these people, which is such a slap in the face. They've lost everything. They've given billions to Ukraine and billions over here and all this and that. And now they got no money. They've admitted it that they have no money. So again, it's the optics. It's truly the optics in this case. So President Trump launched a fundraising campaign. He did this on September 30th. I've been talking about him doing the fundraiser that I've been talking about probably about 2 days before that, the 28th or so. So on the 30th, he announced that he was doing a campaign and he was aiding the Americans that were devastated, obviously, by the hurricane. And he's raised millions of dollars by now. But he didn't do, again, what I think he should do, because if he does what I'm telling him to do, I think he's going to win hands down because of the optics of that, having a telethon on television and all that. So I don't know. I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying to push and get that in front of the right people. This is interesting. So we talk about the cheating, and obviously they're trying to cheat as much as they can. One of the ways they're trying to cheat is they know that they don't even have the voters in the United States anymore, right? Unless they're illegals, because no one's really supporting this ticket. So there's people that live overseas. And because they live overseas, they're allowed to vote, but they also don't have to prove their identity or their picture ID. They don't need their identity. They don't even need the last four of their social security number, which is also insane. And so there's millions of people overseas. So we've been trying to sound the alarm on that, to tell the Trump campaign, to tell the surrogates all about it. 5 U.S. Congress members have sued Pennsylvania election officials after they have told the clerks to exclude any verification requirements for overseas voter applicants. DNC announces innovative 6-figure investment in Democrats abroad to ensure engagement of key voters living outside USA. Well, let me rephrase that. They're looking for millions of voters outside the United States to help them stay in power. But clearly, these members of Congress have said, I don't think so, not going to happen. So they have filed a lawsuit on that. And right now, you know, we'll see what happens with it. But according to the lawsuit, which was submitted yesterday by Eric Cardle and Elizabeth Nielsen from Cardle and Erickson Law Firm, the Pennsylvania Election Code establishes that UOCAVA, that's the program application, may be rejected if an omission prevents election officials from determining whether the applicant is eligible to vote. So that's part of the election guidelines in the state of Pennsylvania. So what's happening here is they're going to sue. I'm assuming they're going to be successful, but let's hope that other states do the same thing, because it's not just Pennsylvania. They want to go after Wisconsin and Michigan and some of the other states as well. But I'm pointing it out. Affect the weather. Yeah, I agree, Carl. I agree that it could affect the weather. But, you know, they're being proactive rather than reactive, which, you know, I think is really, really important. Okay, so the other thing I was going to cover was this. So President Trump, believe it or not, is doing well in some areas of Philadelphia. Now, let me give you the reason why this is so shocking. In 2012, there were certain precincts that literally had zero votes for Mitt Romney and 100% for Barack Obama. There was also numerous precincts that reported more voters than votes, right? So obviously it's a huge fraud area. He's getting 8 to 9% in these black, heavily dominated urban wards. He's getting 8 to 9%. And in some of the other areas of Philadelphia that have more white working class and union voters, he's getting up to 20%. And again, this is Philadelphia. This is like the most liberal area pretty much of the entire country. So if he's getting those types of numbers in a place like Philadelphia, what do you think's happening in the rest of the state? What do you think's happening in the rest of the Midwest? And that's why I keep saying, keep an eye on the state of New York, because normally Democrats win by 30, 35 points in a state like New York. Biden, I think, won by 23% in New York, which isn't as good as you would think it would be. But remember, Lee Zeldin came within 5.5, 6 points for the
That's
governor
right.
with Kathy Hochul. And he's right now almost in single digits. I think he's 11 or 12% out in New York. So what I'm saying is, if New York is not called right away, and let's say it takes 60% or 55% of the vote before they call it, it's going to be a very good night for President Trump. If it's called right away and it's 40, 50 points, you know, and there's 5% into the vote, could be a pretty long night. Okay. So keep your eye on New York and what's happening there. So I thought that that was important as well. All right. So we've got a little bit of time left here, about 15 minutes or so. So what else is on everybody's mind? I could go into other things, but I want to hear from all of you. I don't want to talk too much anymore. So anyone?
How about the dock workers?
The dock
Oh, yeah.
workers. Okay, we can talk about that.
Oh,
So the
yeah.
dock workers is now, the strike is over at least, or postponed maybe until January.
Postponed.
But like I said before, I kind of like this Daggett guy. Everyone hates him. He's close to the Genovese crime family. They found a body in a trunk from a witness. I mean, the guy is definitely not a good guy. But I like the fact that the amount of power he has. Because what have I said for the longest time? I said we need people with power, truckers, dock workers, people like that, that could pretty much tell the federal government, sorry, we're shutting it down. So someone like that could be very useful in the future. Those are my thoughts on that. But we can talk about the dock workers. What does everybody think about that? Here, we'll start with you, Walter. What do you think about the whole dock workers thing?
Well, I don't know. I think it's suspicious that this guy caved in so fast to postponing it till after the election. So I'm not sure of what that means. I mean, apparently he holds a pretty tight grip of power over his union members, as opposed to what really surprised me was the Teamsters members actually going against their leadership in a poll and 60% of them saying that they wanted to support Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
I think it's higher. I think it's 70, 75% actually, but yeah.
So it looks to me like this guy who's in charge is either corrupted or already part of the establishment or the left wing, because if he would have stuck to his guns, like it sounds like he definitely could, then wow, would that put a hurt on the leftist ticket, with people literally seeing empty grocery shelves, no gasoline, no products. I mean, that would have just put the nail in the coffin. So I'm very suspicious of him.
Yeah, well, look, it could have been death threats, you know, hey, if you don't, you know, postpone this or whatever, you know, we're going to kill you. I mean, who knows? But he is a bad guy. I mean, let's face it, he, you know, he's been part of 2 racketeering trials. A witness that was going to testify against him, they found in the trunk of a car in like New Jersey somewhere. He actually lives in like a 7,000 square foot home in a beautiful area of Sparta, New Jersey, in Northwest New Jersey, out kind of where my brother actually lives. Jason, you'd know exactly where it is.
Nice luxury we got too.
Where Action Park used to be, out that way. That's exactly where he's at. And he's got a Bentley, and he's got, you know, all kinds of, you know, toys and all that. He makes a lot of money. But it's interesting that he is corrupt. There's no question about it. But the power, the absolute power that he has. Jason, what are your thoughts here on the dock workers thing?
Well, first of all, can't they invoke the Taft-Hartley Act with this?
Yeah, I mean, they probably could. Yeah. Why don't you explain a little bit about it to the people that maybe not know about it?
Well, I can't remember the incident what happened, but it was, especially with the hurricane that happened, and with the economy that um, that they would invoke the Taft-Hartley Act. I don't remember everything that it entails, to be honest with
Mhm.
you, but
Well,
that's what
yeah,
I
I mean,
that's what I was hearing.
they could because again, the government does have certain abilities, I guess you could say, to stop certain types of strikes, but the enormous size of the longshoremen's union and how many ports of entry that they control, they really had them by the balls. Let's face it, they really
You're
did.
right,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
these guys make a lot of money.
Mhm.
They make a lot of money. I have a couple customers who are longshoremen, and they make huge amounts of money, some in the $300,000-400,000 range. And they even told me secretly that they get paid a lot of overtime and they're not even on the job.
Wow. That's why I
They're
hate
not even on the
unions.
job and they're getting like 20, 30, 40 hours a week of overtime and they're not even there.
Damn. Isn't that crazy? And you wonder why I hate unions so much.
And they're
Pam,
making like they're making $60 an hour plus the overtime.
unreal. Pam, what are your thoughts here on the strike? Do you think that this was all political? The reason it stopped? You think there was pressure? What are your thoughts?
I was surprised it ended so quickly. And it's interesting, the size of those ports. Sometimes we drive into Long Beach and to see those ports, those those canisters, just like they're nothing, and they're coming in and out. And they rebuilt a bridge to the Long Beach port just to move those trucks in faster. And there's a railroad, and it's just quite amazing. But I guess I don't know what the politics are. So
Yeah, that's all right. Carol, what about you? So the strike was postponed, not necessarily over, but postponed until January of 2025, where they're going to resume negotiations. Where do you think that pressure came to stop the strike?
I'm not really sure on that part, but I think it's like they're trying to stall, see who wins the election. Maybe not. Something seems fishy, but I haven't been following that story just a whole lot. But you're right. Unions are horrible.
Mm-hmm. I hate unions. I truly, truly do. Let's see, Bob, what are your thoughts on the dock workers?
The one thing that gets me is I was reading about what they're being offered to settle. They are being offered a lot of money, increase in pension, increase in salary, increase in vacation. The general public doesn't get that. I'm like,
Right.
what more do they want? What I mean, they're working, they're making money to feed their families. What more do they need?
Yeah.
So I believe it is an election ploy that's talking about shutting it down so that the Democrats can come in and have them open it up until after the election. It's
Gotcha.
another game. I think it's all a game.
It could be. Yeah. Again, I'd say it. I kind of wish it would have continued on a little longer, because it would have hurt them politically. But of course, they couldn't let that happen, right? So,
Right.
Liam,
Josh?
what about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, it looks like it came and gone by pretty fast. If I'm not mistaken, it was just from Maine to Texas and didn't hit California where the Long Beach port was, because that is a pretty big
That's
area.
a huge
But
one.
I was thinking sort of the same thing as you. It's like kind of reminds me. It's like if the truckers would do the same thing, then you can control it. But truckers versus the shipping, it's like I think I read the article. It's 6,000 to ship a container, and they wanted to raise it to 30 grand, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless,
Crazy.
it's like that will spark our country to start making our products here where we should be instead of getting all the nonsense from overseas. So I was thinking, okay, that's an opportunity for us to get our companies booming, lay the groundwork before Trump gets in and make everything great again. And then, of course, what else was I thinking? Well, yeah, unions, they don't look fun to be in because of this nonsense.
Well, they're not about the members so much anymore. They're really just about the leadership,
Right.
and they're about raising money for Democrats. I mean, that's the only thing you can really say about the majority of unions, which is why I absolutely detest unions. I'm probably one of the most anti-union people you'll ever meet or talk to. Gail, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, well, it probably came maybe from Washington. I think they're all in league with the cartels, and the mafia and everything else now. There was, they're just political. It's all political too. And
Yeah.
yeah,
We need to
I was
have like
just gonna say something like that.
conservatives that run courts and have that type of power where they can
Yeah,
just shut things down. Like, I don't know. I mean, what, you've got Elon Musk and the Starlink, right? He's trying to get that Starlink out there so that people can have communication ability and things like that, and the government cut it off on them. This government is evil. They're not incompetent. This is not incompetence. I want people to understand that.
that's
This is
right.
deliberate evilness because they hate the country and they want to run the country the way they want to run the country, and we cannot allow that to happen. And I don't know what's going to happen in 30 some odd days, but I think with everything that we've seen, we can see a trend. It's a clear trend. I'll be looking forward to next week's information coming out after this whole disaster in North Carolina, and I got a feeling you're going to start to see some big numbers. Now, remember, the media themselves, they're not going to. They're going to say it's still a close race or Trump's up by 1 or 2, because in case they are trying to steal it, they can't have outliers that are 8, 10, 12, 14 points up for Trump, right? But remember, there are at least 3 polling companies that will do that. If they find the truth, they will report the truth. So I think that we're going to have to see, what happens from that standpoint. So anyway, those are all my thoughts. Can't wait to hear all of yours. If y'all want to stay with me for a little bit afterwards, no problem. But Marlene, go ahead and flip the switch when you get a chance. So.